Hello, we all know that the bill of quantity is not complete without the rates. The rate is an essential component of a bill. To this end, let us discuss on how to build up rates for one of the many items in the bill. And we are going to be looking at disposals of excess material. And the rental costs of the rental costs that you needed to have handy, or do I say the information needed to have handy before you can proceed to building up your rates are the cost of the tipper per day, the cost of the wheel loader per day, if it is excavator, the cost of excavator per day, the cost of diesel fueling per liter, the distance of the dump site, then the cost of mobilizing and demobilizing the equipment that you've deployed, then the cost of the dump site itself. The dump site, a certain amount is being paid for you to be allowed to dump the excess materials on those on that in that area. So having gotten all of those rates, we can now proceed to building up our rates. As you can see, my first two items is the cost of the truck, and the truck capacity is 20 ton, and the cost per day is 120, and the volume of fuel it consumes for one day is 80 liters at the rate of 1,200. So if you multiply 1,200 by 80, you get 96. So your cost of truck per day is 216, including fueling. For you now to determine how many trips that the truck can go and come back each day, that is why you have to know the distance, constrain all the traffic jam along that axis. Then you now come to a certain minute that it will take them with all of the hitches on the road. So in this case, we've determined that it's going to take the truck to go and come from the dump site 30 minutes. And there is usually an ideal time. Say the truck might not be busy. Say the trucks came to arrive at the same time to the site where it needed to be loaded. One has to wait for the other one to be loaded, and that one waiting has an ideal time. That time it is waiting is an ideal time because it is not either even the time that the truck is being loaded is idle time as well. So haven't consider the time as 10 minutes. You now add it together with the 30 minutes. It now gives you a 40 minutes for the truck to go and to come back. So now for you to determine how many trips it will go, usually the working time for a day is 8 hours. So 8 hours multiplied by 60 minutes, since we are dealing with minutes in this area, 60 minutes gives you a certain amount. Then you divide it by 40, which is the time it takes for the truck to go and come back. You now have a 12 trip. So having 12 trip, you now divide the 216, which is per day, by 12 to get the cost per trip. Mind us, our target is to get the cost per cubic meter. So now we are reducing the number of trip to one, so that we can now get the volume of what the truck is carrying, now divided by the amount to get cost per cubic meter. So this, we have gotten the cost for the trucks. Then we now proceed to determine the cost of the bell or the excavator that is going to load the truck. So you now have a 180,000 per day for the payloader, loader, which is wheel loader, referred as wheel loader as well. Then the fuel that the pair will consume in a day is 150 liters at 1,200. You have a 180,000. Then the consumables, which is like the oil, the grease, and other consumables that are that makes the equipment to work efficiently. How do you determine that? Say you have in a month you have kept the record of the cost of the grease, the engine oil you have used to service a particular equipment. You now divide it by the cost of its higher the cost that uh, the the amount that it generated for that 1 month during the cost of the hiring, because it was used for that amount to come into your coffer. You divide it by that amount, it will give you a certain percentage. So rather than you trying to value the the volume of the small engine degrees that you applied to know what the amount of that quantity, so that percentage you have determined as a result of you keeping your record can be applied uh, at all time, because it is based on empirical scientific uh, determination. So after that, you have the cost of the operators, 8,000 per day. The cost for the mate, because the mate needed to be there, because sometimes there are logs of wood that needed to be taken out of the sand. So you need to remove there are metals object that needed to take out so that the tires will not puncture. So he has a mate that will work alongside with him, the one that will control the trucks from to come at one direction and stop the other one from coming, so that accident will not happen. So that mate has to be considered as well. But these two, the fuel and this is condition that the price that was given to you for the rental is not inclusive of these three items. If the price is inclusive of these three items, then this is not applicable in this instance. But if the price that was given as 180 is the cost for the pair without fueling and the drivers and the operator, then you can now, this can be applied, because rentals of different model. There are rentals that all of this will be included. There are rentals that they will give you you rent the equipment, you provide your operators, you provide your fuel. So depending on the model that you are applying, that is why you needed to know all of this for you to actually know what you're doing. Then the cost for bringing in the equipment and taking it after completion of work has to be considered. In this instance, one trip is 75,000, the next trip is another 75,000, giving you 150. So the cost for your per day is 529,000 with some fraction. And like I did said that when you are deploying uh, equipment of this magnitude, there is the need for you to utilize it maximally. And for you to utilize it maximally, you needed to deploy the other associated equipment enough for it to work maximally. Say you are deploying a tipper for a truck, for a payloader. For it to work maximally, if you deploy one, then it has to be waiting. The truck will go for 40 minutes and come back before the next one, before it will load again. So meaning it is underutilized. So you need to deploy minimum of 3, maximum of 5 for it to be utilized efficiently. So in this case, we're deploying 3 for the payloader. So now for you to get the cost for one, you have to divide it by 3 to get your to get your 176,000 for one. Then for you to further divide it for 12, for the 12th trip that one crop will go, for you to get the cost for one trip, you divide it by 12 trip, this amount divided by 12 trip to give you this figure. And the cost for the dump site, which is 3,000 to be allowed access to dump the excess material, is 3,000. So if you sum up this, the cost, the whole cost that you've realized per trip, it gives you 35,715. Then the capacity of the 20 ton per cubic meter in cubic is 14 cubic. So 14 cubic now, divide 35,000 by 14 cubic gives you 2,551 per cubic. Then you add your overhead, you add your profit, it gives you 3,265, assuming all the rates here are current rates. You'll be getting this as your selling rate. Why? These two as your expenditure, because your overhead is expenditure, it's not profit. So this two will be expenditure, while this will be your profit, 204 naira per cubic. And if you've not been following me, I illustrated on how you generate your overhead and profit in one of my video, how to price personnel cost. I did illustrate on how you build up those rates to come up to your to arrive at your overhead. So if this video has made sense to you, please, you can share, you can like my page, you can visit my page for other materials, and my page is www.youtube.com/quantity surveying made easy _ 2014. Thank you.